I'm Krish Amanda.
And I'm Amana.
Yes. And you hold courses? Yeah.
Yeah, we lead seminars around the world. We have a specific series of seminars that we've developed over the years.
Yeah.
And yeah, different levels and different topics that we deal with in different seminars. A lot of it has to do with intimate relationship and how to help people learn how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of it has to do with just focusing on healing trauma, healing shock, healing fear, or working with fear.
And also helping people to feel feelings that they've been running away from, helping them become more friendly with themselves, kinder to themselves, to embrace things that they have been avoiding, to come out of automatic.
So who would benefit from going to your courses? Do you think everybody should go to your courses, or courses like this, the work that you do?
Well, I think what is important is that there's a motivation. There has to be some kind of motivation that something isn't working or something is not flowing in the way that the person would like it to flow, whether it's their creativity or their relationship to their body or a relationship to family or friends or intimate relationships. Something is not working. That's the motivation to come.
Most often people come because they're having trouble in their relating or they feel lonely. And because everybody wants love and companionship, so that's a big motivator. But unlike other teachers or seminar, we're not offering quick fixes or just techniques. Our focus is to go much deeper than that and find out what we're actually bringing with us into relationship that causes dysfunction. Because a lot of people enter a relationship without really knowing what they're getting into. So it's a big journey to have a relationship. It's going to bring up a lot of issues that may not have been dealt with.
And also, if we don't have much awareness of what we're bringing into the relationship, then it's easy just to believe in the mistrust when it comes up. Like our mistrust comes up and we believe it to be true, rather than going deeper and investigating and seeing that this is my wound, there's something I'm learning here. So we're helping people to take the focus off the outside, always blaming and controlling or playing games, and just to come back to feel what's really going on and what am I learning here.
I've heard a saying, I don't know if it's come from you, I've read so much, but it says that in this society we have we getting sold a picture that when we meet the right person, our life's gonna be perfect. You know, all the fairy tales with the happy endings. But I don't know if it was you, but somebody said that when you meet the right person, the work begins.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I think one thing that we talk a lot about in our work is that there are two different spaces. There's a mature space and there's an immature space. And a lot of people are living their lives and entering into relationships and being in relationships from an immature space. And that space is full of expectations, demands, and is looking for something in the outside to take away loneliness and fear and pain. There's other ways you can describe that immature space, but that's basic. But from a mature space, it's very different. We're not looking to be rescued. We're looking to share, but we're not looking to, or let's say this way, we know that it isn't going to be easy, that there's going to be things we have to deal with, and we're willing to do the work. And we're willing to do the work to know ourselves. We're willing to do the work to be able to live harmoniously with the other person.
And also to your question, it's true that in a way when you meet the right person, your deeper wounds will start to get activated, will start to come up. So then the work really starts. So the other becomes like a mirror, where we get to see parts of ourselves that are really uncomfortable, that we don't want to see. But there's something beautiful about working it out in the relationship, in the intimacy, instead of just turning away and finding another person. Because those wounds are inside, and they can only heal when they really come up. So that's a lot of our work, is to inspire people to learn through these difficulties and these challenges, instead of just continuing to change partners. That doesn't mean that you can be with anybody, because it also requires a certain level of compatibility and having the same priorities in life and having the same values. So you can't just be with anybody just to heal your wounds. I mean, you still have to, for instance, something basic like, do you want to have children? What kind of life do you want to live? I mean, you have to find a partner who's on the same page, otherwise it's not going to work.
But a lot of times we're not choosing from awareness. We're not choosing from a space where we really know who we are and what we're looking for. A lot of times relationships may start from just a physical attraction, or more difficult even than that is we're repeating a pattern that's imprinted from wounds from our parents or childhood. And then we're repeating the same traumas over and over again, because inside of us is that sense that this is what love is. And it comes with abuse, it comes with rejection, it comes with a lot of abandonment issues. So we look very specifically at certain wounds. And part of our work is to isolate those wounds and to deal with them separately and deeply. For instance, there's a wound of abandonment, which is feeling that the other person isn't meeting our needs, our basic needs, somehow. And that's going to happen for sure in any relationship. So we have to learn how to recognize that, how it's connected to childhood, and how to deal with it in a healthy way instead of a reactive way. That's one wound. Another.
Yeah, and also to say more about abandonment, it's not just consciously when the other person is not giving us what we want. It's any time the other person is different than us. Whenever we perceive the other person to be different, that can create a disturbance inside where we start to feel unsafe. So in our work we help people to go deeper, to find place inside where they can let other people or their partner or even the world be different from them. That's really the abandonment wound.
Because from an immature or romantic space, we kind of have this fantasy, many people have this fantasy, that if we find the right person, as you said, everything's going to be fine. But it just isn't. It isn't, because relationship is a spiritual journey. It's one way to be motivated and provoked, to look deeper.
So you could say everything is going to be fine, but fine in the sense of a lot of turmoil, a lot of disturbance, but that's fine because it helps to heal those wounds.
Yeah. But it's even finer if we know that that's going to happen, and then we have some tools to work through it, and we don't get into dramas. And romance lasts. Immature romance lasts in what we call the honeymoon, where nothing is really getting worked on yet. And then when the honeymoon's over, the real work starts. But we need some tools for that, and that's partly what our work is.
Because if we don't have those tools, what then happens is that we get disappointed, and then we may go into isolation. Even if we stay together, we start living separate lives, or we have an affair, or we start being dishonest, or acting out in different ways to separate, but not really separate. So it becomes a very painful game of just taking revenge and being in that feeling of being cheated, basically. So there's no growth in that, and we can stay in that outer layer of protection forever until we go in and really begin to feel the pain, feel our mistrust, our wound that's been triggered.
And say that you are in a relationship that works medium good, and you want to do something for the relationship, and you open a catalog with courses for relationship, and you get intimidated by the words of tantra and the words of intimacy, and how do you work? Is it optional to go into a certain workshop, or is it optional to go as deep as the participants wants themselves?
Absolutely. And in our workshops, we always make it clear that every exercise we do is 100% optional. It has to be from each person's yes inside. So there's never any pressure. In a way, even if it is a workshop with more people, with many people together, it's an individual process. So everybody goes from where they are to the depth where they're comfortable with. So everybody has a unique experience. It's not like a group experience and everybody has the same experience, not at all.
But everybody has a wounded part. You can call it a wounded child, a wounded self, whatever. Everybody has that. The question is, how can, one of the big questions that we have always asked is, how can we guide people to discover that part without feeling overwhelmed or pressured? So a lot of the work is through guided meditations, where everybody's alone and we guide them. We also use we teach people how to communicate so that they can share in a way where they're being listened to. We also teach people how to listen. So it's like creating an environment where we're received in a way that maybe we weren't as a child. So that in itself is very attractive.
And so it's more like the workshop becomes a kind of a laboratory to explore new ways, to be more honest, more sincere. And it doesn't mean that it's perfect. Of course, it can also, you could share something in a workshop and suddenly you don't feel safe. But then that can be worked with. You know, it's so, yeah.
And you've been working with this for 20 years together?
Yes,
Yeah.
20 years together, yes.
Oh.
That must be very interesting to see all these relationships and all these particular flavors of drama.
Yeah, and all the different countries and cultures, all the different ways that people are wounded and deal with it, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, what changes culture to culture, person to person, is, first of all, the strategies that they use to protect themselves from not getting hurt, or not feeling fear, or not feeling insecure. So we call that the outer layer, and that's a protection layer. And that changes by culture, by person. But our approach to that is not to confront people on that, but just to see that that's what we had to create that, develop those strategies to survive. And a lot of the strategies are obsolete because we're not really in the moment now. We just automatically go to those strategies. But if we can have some insight about that, and then drop deeper, oh, what's the fear? What's the insecurity behind that strategy? And then communicate. It's a whole different thing. But many relationships, when they haven't worked on it, they just interact on the protection layer. And that's really a nightmare. And it doesn't get better unless we're guided a little bit to drop down. Well, what's really happening here? Why am I angry? What's my fear? Or what is,
And that's very beautiful for us and very rewarding to see that no matter where in the world we work, once we go underneath the protection layer into the woundedness, it's the same. Whether you're man, woman, Chinese, Swedish, Italian, it doesn't matter, it's just the same. You know, the wounds are basic and the same. And in a way, that's the beauty of a workshop compared to just individual therapy. Because coming together and seeing that other people have the same wounds, it's very touching to feel, look, I'm not alone. You know, other people have the same feeling of insecurity, of shame, of loneliness and fear. And that creates some kind of a melting inside, a sense of we're all together, we're all one. Even if in the personality it looks so separate, we look so different.
And when people first come together, often the way they relate to each other is through energy. Maybe sex, maybe sharing passions with each other for different things in their lives. But we want to expand that. We want people to share their wounds also with each other. It makes for much deeper heart connection. And also the sexuality is going to change after a while. And we have a specific workshop where we work with intimate sexuality, because it's different than energy sexuality. That kind of sexuality doesn't really last in long-term relationships. So we need to find a new way to keep the love flowing, and let love, not sexual energy, be the motivating thing that brings people together. And, we talk about just sort of extraneous sexuality, which is just getting turned on energetically, and for that, if you want to stick with that kind of sexuality, you're going to have to change partners all the time. But if you want to stick with one partner, then we have to find a new way. And that includes a new way of making love, but it also includes sharing when there's fears, when there's insecurities, when there's joy, just whatever's there, share that. Don't try to pretend something else, just be with the moment. Whatever that moment is.
But just to be clear, that in our work, we don't work directly with sexuality. We don't work with Tantra, for instance. Just to be very clear about that, we don't. We work with the wounds that can interfere with our natural flow of sensuality, sexuality, or feeling the body. So it's more about connecting inside with our own body and being able to communicate and feel what feels true for us. So in a way our work is very complementary to Tantra, and often we recommend Tantra workshops. So just to be clear, that's not our work.
So, you teach workshop, but you have a big, like a system of products and services for people. So, can you tell a little bit more about that?
Well, we've written a lot of books, and they're different books. The latest books that we're doing are called the Handbook, the Learning Love Handbook, and they're very simple, very simply written with exercises. So it's a little bit like a work manual, but it's, and we work with abandonment, we work with shame, insecurity, we work with fear and shock. Our latest one that's coming out soon is Living with Passion, so mixing going for your life with meditation, inner space, so balancing these two qualities. So, and then,
and then also, the books the handbooks also come together with, you can buy separately the meditation CDs, which are guided meditations. So those are very helpful for people to have at home, to work with, to take a little time to go in each day, to work with shame, to feel the body, work with shock.
Because our real dream is to help people apply this to their life, not just to come for a good experience. So we really want people to use the experiences that they're going to gain from reading the books, listening to the CDs, and coming to the workshops as a way of living a really fulfilling life.
And that's very rewarding, now, because we work so many years, to see how many people have changed, and then maybe we work with the sister and the daughter, and so many families over the years that we've worked with, and that's incredible, to see how things are changing.
Yeah. So you get to see the whole family system.
Yes, and many friends and families. So that's wonderful in the countries that we worked in for many years. But generally our program is like the basic workshops, which are 5 days each. They work with different aspects of relating, different aspects of getting to know yourself deeper, different aspects of the wounds. And then we have a training, which is later for those who would like to go deeper or also to work with people. So
We've trained therapists, teachers in
many, yeah.
many different countries, and they're continuing to do the work, lead seminars, and then once every 2 years we bring all the teachers together for a kind of a refresher course. So it's all part of the Learning Love Institute that has chapters in different countries.
And also, you know, in addition to that, we've trained a lot of therapists who are not necessarily learning love therapists, but they are just doing their own thing. But then they add aspects of our work into their work with people, whether it's social workers or massage therapists or teachers, a lot of teachers, psychologists, you know, many people that we've trained.
So one could describe that you work with the inner child in your workshop, and then if I come to workshop and I go home and my inner child feels better, what could I expect? How would my life change? What could happen for me?
Well, generally, you will start to feel more in tune with your body. You may start to notice things, become more sensitive. So sometimes there can be a transition period where first you get more sensitive, and then things might get a little bit, you feel more, it could be a little uncomfortable. As you get more comfortable with that, you might make different choices. For instance, in terms of your friends, it could be that there are some friends you don't want to see anymore, new people appear in your life. So it's generally more of a becoming more authentic.
I think that's the big thing, is being more authentic. Because a lot of times, because of our childhood experiences, we gave up our power, we gave up our ability to make good choices and to even know what we need. And that's, for us, that's a huge change. If people can come away having a better sense for what works for them, and then risking to be more true. So a lot of it is about being true to themselves, because that brings happiness. When we're false to ourselves, we can get depressed, we can get angry, we can get sick. And a lot of times people burn out when they've been living a life that's not true. And in fact, a lot of the people who come, many people who come from a space of midlife crisis or burnout, or the old isn't working anymore. So we help them find a new way to live true, with more meaning, to relax more, not always trying to push.
And basically help them realize that it's their life. That life is so precious, and they're here to live their life in whatever way that might be, creatively, to love deeply, to live fully. You know, so not to live according to somebody else's expectations or their ideas or ideals, and then get so tired because they can't reach their ideals, but to relax more and just be who they are and enjoy life, and be more in the now, you know.
A lot of family systems are very dysfunctional. So we really help people to encourage them to find out who they are, to become an individual. And if they're going to relate to family members, to do it from a different space, not from a robotic, dysfunctional place, but from a true place. So to improve the family system, you know.
That means to be more honest, to talk about issues that maybe before were just pushed away, you know, to address feelings that they have just pushed down, you know, to look at if they're, you know, pushing down feelings with alcohol or excessive work, or you know, to question some of their behaviors.
That is another area
we work
with
a lot
addictions.
of addictions.
Because a lot of people, if they've been not living the life they're meant to live and not knowing how to take care of themselves, they'll go to an addiction to relax themselves because they don't have any other way. And then the addiction itself becomes a lifestyle. And also, it's tough to get over an addiction. I mean, that's a whole nother piece. So,
but generally we help them find a new way to soothe themselves, to relax their nervous system, so that they can find an alternative. So, the old way might just be alcohol, which is what they saw their father or the mother use, or pills, or working all the time. So it works, but it doesn't really work, because afterwards you don't feel good. It doesn't help you feel more dignity, more strength. It undermines, sabotages your whole life. So we help them find a new way that they can relax, soothe, through moving the body, being in nature, meditation, connecting deeper, being more true. So many, many things.
Big part of our work is meditation. We spent many, many years in India studying with a meditation teacher and enlightened master, and we're very inspired by his approach, which is to live very full life, really energetic, alive, but also meditative. And that combination of full-on energy and meditation is really pretty basic to our work. So go for it, but go in, both.